welcome back to our series of interviews with Eura's amazing members all over the world. I am really delighted to talk again with Alex Brits. We've talked a couple of times over the last year, and to Corallie Pringle. You are two of the longest standing members of Eura. We've known each other a very, very long time, and it's always wonderful to see you. But there is a bittersweetness to this interview today. Do you want to explain why and what that's about?
So, Alex, I'll let you start.
Okay. I knew that was going to happen. We were both going to jump in.
Sorry, I should.
We need to have a code. So it is bittersweet, definitely for both of us. Corallie is retiring after many years at InTouch and in this industry, and I too have decided to move on from my role at InTouch and the relocation industry as well, and seek some new challenges in a different industry, not too different, sort of real estate space, but in more of a technology type of space, in an area that excites me quite a lot. So yeah, so after I've been with the company for 11 years, and Corallie started the company nearly 28 years ago. So it's been a long time, and we have built a beautiful company and an incredible team that we will miss an awful lot, and we're very, very proud of that. And of course, we'll miss the whole Eura community incredibly, and all of the wonderful adventures that we've had all over the world with the Eura community. And I must just say, you know, for myself, I came into this industry not knowing anything about the relocation business, not even knowing that there was, well, I suppose I knew because, you know, of my family connection. And I kind of, I suppose, like many of us, just fell into this, and I found that I was good at it, and I really enjoyed it, and I loved helping people and solving challenging problems. And it's been absolutely, you know, the best years of my life, the most fun and challenging work that I could ask for. And I've learned a great deal, you know, in that time about people and business and culture and all sorts of fascinating things. So what a fantastic opportunity, and I'm forever grateful for that.
I mean, and again, you know, from that point of view, I was saying this before the recording, and I wasn't just saying it, but you know, you are two of those people within Eura who are universally liked, and you will be universally missed. I've got to say, it is not going to be the same. So Corallie, I mean, you were in at the very start of the burgeoning relocation business. I mean, you are one of the pioneers. You're a founder member of Eura. You have seen so many changes, not least the last year. But I mean, you're leaving your company in incredibly good shape.
Yes, absolutely. And I mean, I can only echo what Alex said in terms of, you know, the people we've met. They probably are the most passionate about, you know, kind of making a difference in people's lives. They work incredibly hard. Just the interest in each other and the curiosity about other cultures and other worlds and all the opportunities we've been given. I mean, I started in 1993, so nearly sort of 28 years of my life have been involved in the relocation industry. And I couldn't think of a more sort of privileged place to be and have, you know, share the journey with you and Tad as you've built up the amazing Eura network, which has been such a joy and such a privilege to be part of. And I think that will be probably one of the greatest regrets. And look, you know, we've all got to go at some stage, otherwise we'll be sort of hobbling around in Zimmer frames. But it's given us an enormous energy and an enormous, you know, kind of passion to go and see another city, meet some more people, and lovely also to see young people coming into the industry, the, you know, digitalization of it, all the changes. I mean, I listen to sort of Alex and the younger people involved in the industry, and I think we leave it in really, really good shape. But there's no doubt that, of course, there'll be mixed feelings, and I'll miss it enormously. But you know, there's so many other opportunities, and hopefully I'll have another sort of 25 years or so of good life and interesting, fun things to do.
Exactly. I mean, it's such an interesting thing. We were saying before the call, transitions and the way things have happened, and across the last year. And Alex, we were saying that when we first spoke, you'd actually driven down last Easter. You'd driven down to Hermanus from Joburg, and then the lockdown came in, and you were stuck. And that time that you all spent together as a family was quite a big deal, right? I mean, it kind of made you think.
Yes, it was. And I mean, that I must say that one of the factors that has factored into sort of my decisions around my career and my family's future has been, how happy we are when we're in the Western Cape with my parents nearby. My kids adore spending time with their grandparents, and it's just wonderful to have that family support. And obviously, when there are lockdowns in place and you're separated from family, that's quite hard on everyone. I mean, I think my dad came up for the first time in many, many months to visit just recently, and he was quite emotional and saying, gosh, I haven't seen the kids for such a long time. It's really hard. So I think for us, spending that time down there in lockdown together was incredible. I mean, it strengthened our relationships. We had many discussions into the night about, this industry, other things, other exciting things, technology, pandemics, when is it going to end, all of this. And we all had our predictions and our ideas, which all turned out to be wrong. And I think, but it taught us that it taught us resilience, I suppose, and a different set of, maybe a different set of values and a different way of looking at things that have formed the way we want to live our lives, really. So even though, as you say, we weren't allowed to leave the house, we had many adventures. We did many fun things. We had to keep two very young and spirited children entertained. So yeah, it was great. And I think, one of the reasons of wanting to go back down there and just be close to family when we can.
I mean, it is an extraordinary thing what this bizarre, extraordinary year has prioritized a lot of things. And I mean, Corallie, from that point of view as well, you've worked together incredibly successfully for more than a decade as mother and daughter. Has that, is that something you would? I mean, obviously physically, the proximity. If Alex, if you move down to the Western Cape, and Corallie, you were saying you still want to really bed in to the Western Cape as well. So there's loads of fantastic opportunities, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. Alex and I are very lucky in terms of, in fact, I mean, it's in some ways, Rod's also been involved in the business. And of course, Alex has been working with me for the last 11 years or so. And not that it comes without, some conflict and head butting, and that's kind of to be expected. And, it's one of the things I admire about Alex is that she is outspoken and is in many ways, would lead innovative thinking better than I did. I think sometimes she would change the world rather too rapidly, and I have to sometimes be the person that has to put the practical aspects in place. But I mean, I think working together, we've complemented each other well. And yes, of course, family is enormously important. I mean, I've got another daughter down in the Western Cape and a son in Scotland, and I'm just wondering when we will ever get to Scotland to be able to catch up with the two of them. So yeah, and I think a lot of people, Dom, have sort of evaluated work-life balance, and I think another huge change will be that people can work from home really effectively, and so that sort of blended approach of being able to either be in the office or work remotely. And in many ways, I mean, I don't think we will ever replace, kind of shaking hands and talking across the table and the value that we get from that. But we have proved that we can function, and, people stay connected and stay positive and efficient. So yeah, it's a very different world to, I mean, I think back of that Los Angeles conference that we had. How many years ago was that?
That was when you first met Tad, right? In Anaheim?
Yeah, I think so. And I remember meeting Avram Goldberg on the steps outside Wolfgang Puck's, and we were all smoking.
Yes, exactly. You were.
Yeah. And life was very carefree and very different, and it was a very small little euro, but and how it's grown since then.
I mean, it is the evolution of the industry has been extraordinary, and you've been at the very centre of that. But it's interesting that you say that we do have a lot more freedom now in our minds, I guess, in where we can be in order to do what it is that we want to do. And I mean, from that perspective as well, you were saying just now, Corallie, that you've still got things you want to do, and so because I've actually forgotten when because you built the house down in the Western Cape. Did you move from Joburg after the house built, or I can't remember the story?
So we built the house, and so we sold our home in Johannesburg,
right?
And we started building the house from scratch in Hermanus. And then I kept an apartment in Johannesburg for 3 years, I think. Right. And I was spending much more time in Johannesburg. Rod was, getting involved with the finishing off of the house. And then we also have a kind of downstairs, very gorgeous downstairs apartment. And so he started doing a bit of B&B, not so much the cooking side of it, the more accommodation side of things. So he kind of kept himself busy down here, and I flitted between the two. So I kind of had, in many ways, the best of both worlds, I guess. And then COVID obviously changed that enormously, because the flitting between the two just simply didn't work. And this last year, I've probably flown up maybe only 3 times, whereas previously I was going up at least once a month, spending 2.5 weeks there, and then coming back down to Hermanus. And, there were also an enormous number of flights. I'm sure you remember from when you were in Cape Town, the number of flights that fly between Cape Town and Johannesburg.
Like every hour.
And I mean, that's changed completely. We're down to, sort of 1.5 airlines. So, I mean, the airline industry's taken an enormous hammering. And I mean, I hope they can recover. So, you don't have the choice of flights, or the number of flights. So that's just one of the other things that's also changed enormously. And flying's no longer, I mean, not that I've always loved flying. I mean, flying's fine, but I mean, now you don't get any meals, you don't get any drinks, you sit there with your mask on, and, you have your mask on all the time at the airport. So it's become a bit of a chore as well.
Yeah, well, it wasn't that much fun to begin with all the security, but at least you could get on a plane and have a glass of wine. Yeah, I mean, hopefully things are changing. And so, I mean, again, Alex, from that point of view, your intention is to move from Joburg in a sort of the fullness of time, right?
Yeah, so no immediate plans, but so we bought a rather large family home in Johannesburg, which is a bit of a passion project of my husband's, being an architect.
Fab, right.
To restore this sort of older Parkview home, older suburbs in Johannesburg, and it is exquisite. But I don't think either of us anticipated the amount of work that would be required. So I think what we need to do now is sort of get it to a point where it is maximizing its market value, and then look at putting that on the market. So that'll take a bit of time. It'll take a year or so, and then just when the market is ready, then make that move. And that'll also give us some time to sort of work out exactly where we want to go in our careers. We're both, interestingly, and I don't really believe in coincidences, but all of these things sort of conspire to happen at the same time. We're both turning 40 this year. And I do believe that that's a good opportunity to either have a midlife crisis, as many people do, or have a kind of existential crisis that can have some positive outcome. So I'd rather the latter. And so we've been having many conversations about, what does the next 20 years look like for us, and where do we want to be, and where do we want to be financially, where do we want to be in our careers, where are we in terms of what we dreamed of being in our 20s, maybe in those very imaginative times when the world was your oyster. And how, you know, how can we still work towards some of those dreams rather than just kind of accepting that this is going to be the rat race forever. And, you know, Joburg is very, you know, it's the big city vibe of South Africa. It's where the main sort of economy is housed. But I think that's starting to shift quite a lot with the technology center of excellence moving to Cape Town. So we're sort of thinking in terms of what type of work we'd like to do. And where, you know, and again, we can be anywhere now, you know, with this future work that we live in. If we build our careers in such a way that they are less dependent on, you know, where we live, and we can do them from anywhere, I think that will benefit our lifestyle and our family enormously, because then we'll have the freedom to make choices around, you know, where we want to be, where we want our kids to grow up, that kind of thing. So yeah, lots of conversations going on. But as I say, we haven't made any firm decisions yet. We have a bit of time to figure all of this out. And yeah, so it's exciting, at the same time quite daunting, to be sort of trying to reinvent or kind of start all over again at this point. We were toying with discussions around potentially immigrating, which I think many South Africans have been toying with. But ultimately, we really do love our life here in South Africa. We really love the lifestyle and, you know, the beauty, the natural beauty.
Yeah.
And we're very outdoorsy people. So, you know, we love being on the water, all of that kind of thing. So there are so many pluses. And of course, there are many, you know, from an economic point of view, many reasons to not be optimistic about South Africa. But I'm an optimist, I suppose, and I believe if you can see opportunity and you can, you know, you can make a business work here. There is opportunity that there isn't necessarily in the rest of the world, because it's already maybe been done, or, you know, it's hugely advanced in a lot of ways that Africa is not. So there are definitely opportunities here. So yeah, that's our sort of sketchy plan at the moment.
I think what's wonderful to hear is that, you know, you've always been an incredibly positive person. And when we spoke before, I mean, I was saying before the recording, you know, you said you are somebody who can handle change, and you know, you can do that on you know, with quite a lot of equilibrium, where other people would struggle more. So I think that was brilliant. You said, you know, it's exciting and daunting all at the same time. But any life change is like that. And, you know, we've all been through so much across the last year. I think we've all found things in ourselves we possibly didn't know were there. And, you know, it's you know, it's tremendous. It's very exciting. So from the point of view of how things are right now in South Africa, can you, like you say, that there are many less flights, it's more difficult to travel about. What about, are you still in any form of lockdown?
So on Sunday night, I think it was, we had another family meeting, as we like to call them in South Africa, which is when the president calls us to gather around the television and he gives us the latest news. And he essentially downgraded the country to alert level 1, which is the sort of lowest form of lockdown regulation that we can get. So the numbers are looking really positive. We're definitely down the sort of downwards curve of the second wave. And so the only restrictions now are in terms of the size of large gatherings. Trying to obviously limit those mass spreader events and keep those under wraps. And then there is still a curfew from midnight until 4 a.m. So that's, you know, that's really it. Apart from that, everything else is open again. Borders are open. There's no restrictions on the sale of any goods or alcohol, which was a big one previously for a lot of industries and a lot of people personally as well. So yeah, I mean, we're pretty back to normal for now. In terms of the vaccines, which is the next sort of big topic, I think, in everyone's lives. It was a bit of a halting start to the vaccination program, where the first lot of vaccines arrived, and then it was discovered they wouldn't be as effective against the strain that we have that's emerged recently. So they decided not to proceed with that lot of vaccines, and have now ordered more from think the Johnson & Johnson one.
Johnson & Johnson one, yeah.
Decided to go with, and then also planning to get quite a lot from COVAX as well. So, but I mean, as yet, we don't have nearly as many people vaccinated as, for example, the UK and other countries in Europe. So we're just hoping that the vaccination program can ramp up before a sort of second wave or third wave.
Third wave, yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah, at the moment, I would say that people are still very, behaviors that have changed have almost become integrated into life now, which is a good thing in many respects, but it's a very altered thing, I mean, just small examples like birthday parties, kids' birthday parties. I mean, we are allowed to do that now, but people are not really, or if they are, they're very small. And even like a lunch commitment, I'll often make plans on the weekend to see a friend or something like that. And then at the last minute, it almost inevitably gets cancelled because somebody's child has got a bit of a cough or a snotty nose. So, it's just like this heightened level of awareness and it's not even, it's more than awareness. It's like being more responsible around like your germs, if that makes sense. And my kids are back in school now, so they've all had to come back with colds and what have you. So I'm just dealing with the last of a bit of a head cold, and it's such a pain because every time anyone gets the sniffles, the doctor sends you off to get a COVID test.
Yeah.
So we're so much more conscious of our behavior and going out and that kind of thing. So the kind of social change has been quite noticeable. And and then I think the more concerning aspect is when will the economic recovery start to kind of kick in, because that's the thing that's probably most concerning for businesses. And I mean, in some sectors there definitely has been a strong kind of return to economic activity, and as I say, there are no restrictions preventing people from doing business as usual. But I think that the sort of investor sentiment is not what it could be, and that may have something to do with vaccine sort of geopolitical type considerations, and it may also have to do with certain things like, funny enough, the alcohol ban. So quite a few companies, alcohol and tobacco sort of companies that were planning big investments in South Africa have now kind of are less attracted to this as a location to build a brewery, for example. So, those sorts of things can put a little bit of a damper on the economy, and just generally spending is not what it should be. So that's the next kind of challenge, I think, for the country and for the government, is just to kind of rally the economy and get that fired up again.
Exactly. I mean, and for the world, there's a budget, I think, for the UK tomorrow, and all European. So yeah, we're still all in this together, really, aren't we? It's gonna take global travel to come back and all of that stuff. And it's like you say, it's so odd how our behaviours have all shifted. The idea now of just going on holiday in Europe is extraordinarily foreign. It's not, you just, that, like you said, Corallie, about jumping on the plane, it's now a very different experience. Listen, it's just great to see you guys. I hate saying goodbye, so let's not say goodbye. Let's say au revoir, and let's hope when you can come to Europe to go to Scotland, the Euro family would love to see you. If that ever coincided with an event, or being, obviously, if ever you come into the UK, mi casa y su casa, you have to come and say hi. But in terms of, if there's any chance that, you can come and say, I know everybody listening would love to, provided we can, big hug, glass of something nice, because it would be just great to see you. So in the meantime, let's catch up. I mean, I need your personal contact details, but we'll catch up again. Please keep in touch. If nothing else, that we can just put an update into the European, or do another interview like when things start to get normalized again, just to say hello and update everybody with how you're doing and what you're doing and where you're at.
That would be lovely.
It would be lovely. But in the meantime, good luck with everything. You're just closing the office, right, Alex? You said, is that done now?
So we moved from one office space into a new office space, which is quite a lot smaller. And because a lot of people are working
We did the same.
now and working from home, so we don't need nearly as much space as we did. So yeah, when I talk about my sort of adaptability to change, and then I contrast that with some other people, some members of my team are still not settled, and they're still kind of like, oh my gosh, this is such a, it's very different because they don't have their own dedicated desk anymore. They have to kind of rotate, and it's a much smaller space, and there's still boxes everywhere. And of course, they're the IT teething issues. So yeah, I don't think we've been settled in, but we've definitely, we've done most of it, I would say. And I mean, thanks to COVID, I think, everyone is so fantastic at doing everything remotely now. So we were so geared for it. We literally just picked up our stuff and went. So it wasn't nearly as hard as a sort of office move would have been.
As it would have been, say, 2 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. So it really was quite simple.
Good. Glad to hear it. And Corallie, enjoy your time down in lovely Hermanus, and
Thank you, Dom, and thank you both to you and Tad for everything that you've done for us and for the industry. And for sure, we will be seeing you somewhere for a glass of wine.
I really hold you to that. Thank you so much. It's lovely to see you. Take care, and we'll catch up.
Thanks, Dom.
Take care.
We'll catch up soon.
We will.
Bye.
Bye.